He didn't disappear, and there wasn't one clean scandal that ended everything. What really happened to Bobby White is a chain reaction that started quietly and kept getting bigger. One moment he had a stable career and a clear future. The next, he was forced to reinvent his entire life. Sailing Doodles wasn't just an escape. It became a business, a spotlight, and a pressure cooker all at once. Along the way came risky moments at sea, public relationships, and decisions that split his audience. And the part most people miss? The biggest twist didn't happen during the drama. It happened after. Everything changed for Bobby long before YouTube ever entered the picture. At the time, his life was built around aviation. He wasn't chasing views or living some influencer fantasy. He was a professional pilot with a stable, high-level career and a clear future mapped out. Then, without warning, he suffered a serious brain bleed, a medical event that instantly put his flying career on hold. Overnight, the thing that defined his identity was gone. Doctors, recovery, uncertainty. Suddenly, his life was reduced to questions instead of flight plans. For someone used to control and precision, that loss hit hard. He couldn't just wait it out, and he couldn't step back into the cockpit the way he used to. So he did something most people wouldn't even consider. Instead of trying to rebuild the same life, he walked away from it entirely. He sold his belongings, downsized everything, and bought a sailboat with no guarantee it would work out. It wasn't a midlife crisis or a chase for freedom. It was survival mixed with stubborn optimism. Sailing wasn't just a hobby. It was a way to keep moving forward when standing still wasn't an option. And that decision, made under pressure, not comfort, set off a chain reaction that would eventually pull millions of people into his story. But that freedom came with a price most viewers didn't see at first. Once Bobby committed to life on the water, the plan wasn't luxury or long vacations. It was sustainability. Sailing is expensive, and his savings weren't going to last forever. That's where the camera came in. At first, Sailing Doodles wasn't polished or strategic. It was raw, improvised, and built around figuring things out in real time. Broken gear, wrong decisions, awkward moments, none of it was hidden. That honesty is what pulled people in. Slowly, the channel stopped being a side project and started turning into something bigger. Viewers weren't just watching sailing routes, they were watching a guy rebuild his life from scratch. Ad revenue, sponsorships, and viewer support began covering costs that would have otherwise ended the journey early. What started as documentation quietly became a business model, whether he planned it or not. But that shift changed the pressure completely. When the boat, the crew, and even the mistakes become content, every decision carries weight. Sailing wasn't just about weather and navigation anymore. It was about staying relevant. Upload schedules mattered, engagement mattered, and once an audience forms, expectations follow. Bobby had managed to turn freedom into a full-time operation, but that balance is fragile. Because when your lifestyle depends on attention, the line between real life and performance starts to blur. And that's when the story took a turn that viewers are still arguing about today. As Sailing Doodles grew, the focus slowly shifted, and longtime viewers noticed. The channel stopped being just about sailing routes and anchorages and started revolving around the people on board. New crew members appeared, personalities changed, and relationships became part of the storyline, whether anyone admitted it or not. Unlike traditional sailing channels, nothing stayed static for long, and that unpredictability kept people clicking. Some viewers loved the constant rotation. Fresh faces meant new energy, new dynamics, and a sense that anything could happen next. Others weren't as convinced. Comment sections filled with speculation about what was real, what was exaggerated, and whether the channel was leaning into drama on purpose. The more popular Sailing Doodles became, the more every interaction got analyzed like it was part of a show instead of real life. That scrutiny created pressure most creators never talk about. Crew departures sparked rumors. Relationship changes turned into theories. Even silence became fuel for speculation. Bobby found himself running a channel where people weren't just invested in the boat, they were invested in his personal life. The irony is that this attention helped grow the channel while slowly reshaping it at the same time. What started as organic storytelling began to feel like a moving target, and just as the audience was debating authenticity versus entertainment, the ocean stepped in and reminded everyone how real the risks actually were. All the online debates faded the moment things went wrong at sea. This wasn't comment section drama or edited tension. This was real danger. During rough conditions, Bobby's boat suffered a serious onboard emergency. A small fire broke out, followed by water getting where it absolutely shouldn't. The situation escalated fast, the kind of fast that leaves no room for pride or second-guessing. A distress call went out, and the Coast Guard stepped in. For viewers, it was shocking. Sailing channels sell freedom, sunsets, and adventure. But this was the reminder no one likes to sit with. One mistake, one failure, one bad stretch of weather, and the lifestyle turns unforgiving. Bobby later talked about how quickly control vanished, how everything he'd learned still couldn't guarantee safety in that moment. What many didn't realize is that the rescue wasn't the end of the stress, it was the beginning. Towing, damage assessments, repairs, and downtime piled up fast. Boats. Don't pause expenses just because you survive. Every day off the water meant lost momentum, lost content, and rising costs behind the scenes. The incident changed the tone of the channel, even if subtly. Viewers weren't just watching adventure anymore, they were watching someone process how close things came to going very wrong. And as the dust settled, a new problem surfaced, one that doesn't get as much screen time, but hits just as hard. After the rescue, the real headache wasn't just fixing the boat, it was dealing with everything that came after. Insurance quickly became the word no one wanted to hear. Coverage questions, repair approvals, and what would or wouldn't be paid for turned into a drawn-out process that dragged on far longer than most viewers realized. Online, speculation exploded. People argued over fine print, blamed decisions, and tried to piece together what actually went down based on fragments of information. What made it worse is that insurance issues don't create good content. They're slow, frustrating, and mostly invisible, but the financial pressure is very real. While the boat sat sidelined, expenses kept stacking up. Repairs weren't cheap, towing wasn't cheap, and lost time meant lost income. For a channel built on movement and momentum, being stuck was brutal. This is where criticism really intensified. Some viewers questioned seamanship. Others accused Bobby of hiding details or playing things up for sympathy. Whether fair or not, the tone shifted. Trust became a topic, not just entertainment. Behind the scenes, it forced a bigger question. Was this lifestyle even sustainable anymore? When one incident can threaten everything financially, the romantic version of sailing starts to crack. And that internal debate led Bobby to make a decision that completely divided his audience. Instead of doubling down on the image people expected, Bobby went the opposite direction. He stepped away from the classic sailing setup and surprised everyone by pivoting to a motor yacht. For a channel built on wind, sails, and self-reliance, it felt almost rebellious. To some viewers, it looked like a sellout move. To others, it looked like practicality, finally winning. The reasoning made sense on paper. Motor yachts offer more space, more stability, and fewer of the constant sailing headaches that had already caused serious problems. After everything he'd been through, choosing comfort and control didn't seem crazy. But emotionally, it broke the illusion a lot of fans were attached to. The freedom they imagined was suddenly replaced with fuel costs, dock life, and a very different vibe. The comment sections turned heated. Longtime supporters checked out. New viewers came in confused. The channel felt like it was searching for a new identity in real time. And even Bobby eventually admitted something wasn't clicking. The experiment didn't deliver what he hoped, creatively or personally. That's when the pivot inside the pivot happened. He publicly acknowledged that the motor yacht chapter was coming to an end. The plan had failed. And just when people thought the story was winding down, he revealed something even bigger, something that reframed the entire journey and hinted at where all this chaos was actually leading. While the boats and business shifts played out on screen, another storyline was unfolding just as publicly, and far more personal. Bobby's relationships had always been visible to the audience, but when things started ending, the tone changed. One of the most talked about moments was the goodbye video with Stephanie. It wasn't dramatic or explosive, but that almost made it harder to watch. Two people who had shared close quarters, long passages, and constant cameras were suddenly going separate ways. For viewers, it blurred an uncomfortable line. Sailing Doodles wasn't just documenting adventures anymore, it was documenting breakups in real time. Some fans felt invested and supportive. Others started questioning whether personal relationships should ever be part of the content at all. And once again, speculation filled the gaps. People analyzed body language, timing, and past episodes, trying to figure out what really happened. Bobby later acknowledged they were moving on separately, and while it was handled calmly, the impact on the channel was noticeable. Trust became fragile. Some viewers felt burned after getting emotionally attached, while others accepted that real life doesn't pause for an audience. The truth is, running a channel where work, travel, and relationships all overlap creates pressure few people are prepared for. And as those personal chapters closed, Bobby found himself standing at another crossroads. Older, more cautious, and finally ready to rebuild the dream on his own terms. What really happened to Bobby White isn't a single downfall or a shocking reveal. It's a constant cycle of rebuilding. A medical crisis forced him off one path, YouTube pushed him onto another, and the ocean tested every decision in between. Fame brought opportunity, but it also pulled his personal life into the spotlight and magnified every mistake. The real shock is that he's still moving forward at all. Each pivot stripped away another illusion, leaving behind something more honest. And now, with everything he's learned the hard way, the next chapter may be the most real one yet.